Hey, how's it going, guys? Ancient Rune here, back with another Borderlands 4 build video, and today I will be going over my status effect Harlowe build called Stellar Shock. This build is focused around maximizing the damage of status effects using the Stellium and Energy Disc with a combination of the Scientist class mod and Prime Potency enhancement to melt bosses in a few seconds, sometimes in less than a second. You will see that this build does use Nuclear Winter and Group Study, which you may find annoying and see it as just another Green Tree Harlow build, but the Capstone and Augment aren't as impactful as you would think. I want to give a shout out to the Harlowe nerds for the help with this build, as I know basically nothing about Harlowe, and they have helped me learn so much to make this build as strong as possible. If you want to learn more about all the Vault Hunters from the smartest people, then make sure to join the Soup Kitchen Discord, which I will have linked in the description. You can also find a write-up of my build on Mobalytics, so if reading is more your style, you can also go there, which will be linked in the description. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more Borderlands 4 content, and consider becoming a member to support the channel and get videos early. You can also find the save file in my Discord or the Mobalytics guide. Now let's get into it. So the only gun we use on this build is going to be the Stellium, and this is going to be because it has such a high dot. It's the highest dot in the game here. This one with the energy disc underbarrel is 28,000, and the highest one we have found with the shock dot is 31,000, but that's without the energy disc underbarrel. And we want shock because of the scientist class mod, but you can use other elements, it just won't be as strong. Now, why we want the energy disc, even though it has technically doesn't state a dot, it has a higher dot than the Stellium and hits multiple times to apply multiple dots with one shot because of prime potency, making this absolutely busted. Now, for mobbing, we're basically just using the Stellium base shot, but for bossing, you are using the energy disc. You can still use the base Stellium shot for bossing. You may just need to put more work into it, and it kills a little slower, but it's still great. Now, something to keep in mind with the energy disc is you can use both of the two shots. As you see, it says regenerates 2 ammo with 1 prime potency. All you need to make sure you do is you shoot and reload, so you have prime potency active on the main shot, and then you could shoot these 2 shots and they will apply status effects guaranteed. Now, it also can be nice to have a Jacob's Ricochet for the base Stellium part and mobbing. If you hit a crit hit, then it will ricochet and then it can apply a dot to a different enemy. Now, Harlowe does have guaranteed crits with some stuff with Nuclear Winter, but we don't honestly have it active too much, so that is a little bit of a downside. So you may want to aim for crit slots, or you could just ignore that part and just play normally. Now for the rep kit, we are using the triple bypass with amp, as we can get tons of amp shots. You could use the amp and mobbing, but what I like to use the triple bypass for is going to be with caffeine to get back our action skill fast. Harlowe does have some action skill return stuff that's really good, but it just doesn't work as well with this gun, but I'll go over that stuff later. For mobbing, you could also go like action skill cooldown or any of like the damage boosts like elemental or all damage dealt, but I just don't need it. And then for the grenade, we are using the crit knife for the crit chance and bossing. This is really just only here for bossing. It's so our status effects can crit. Our gun is going to crit, but we want our status effects to crits and excited state in here, which has like guaranteed crits with Nuclear Winter. It's not going to apply to dots, so that's why we want the crit knife. And I like it with the extra charge. Ideally, you get all 4 hits, you have 120% crit chance, which means guaranteed crits with your status effects. At the very least, you have 2 or 3 stacks, which are still huge. Then for the class mod, we are using the Scientist, as this makes us have 2 dots active at the same time. We have our shock dot and then our radiation dot. This is still very effective during armor bars. You will notice that, and it's absolutely nuts. You want to get action at a distance for the applying status effect to each entangled enemies. Now, I did find we don't have too many enemies entangled because we just kill them so fast, but it is nice when you can get it. Technically, with bossing, optimal will be having UVH5 and periodic table flip for the elemental damage, but it's very minimal as it's just additive with most bonuses. You could also get a class mod with it with ripple effect, where when you kill an tangled enemy, automatically entangles another one, and that can go really well with action at a distance if you aren't going after just the next enemy that's entangled. And then for the passives, you're looking at like status effect damage, elemental damage, shock or radiation damage, damage dealt, anything that will boost our status effect. Now, personal choice I like to use in mobbing is going to be the Bio Robot for the points and sustained reaction, as it will extend our action skill duration. I used to mess with like a alt skill spec going down the blue tree, but I found it not really needed. I do want to mess with it more since I've tested more stuff since then, but this is just kind of like the go-to. This also gets confirmative reality. I just really like it in mobbing. In the vault, it usually lasts around one like room until you go to the next one, so that's pretty solid. Now, because of tons of action skill stuff, like now with caffeine and just already specking confirmative reality in here, you don't need it. It's just something that's super comfy, so that's why I like Bio Robot, but absolutely do not need it at all. And then for mobbing and technically bossing, you would want to go with triple amp shields. You have the option between Guardian Angel or What's for Dinner, even a purple that has triple amp. I like to use the Guardian Angel as it has a really high recharge rate and really low delay, which makes it really good for mobbing and even bossing, but it's really good uptime compared to the Watch for Dinner, as you'll see. Watch for Dinner has that like overshield and shock bonus element, so there's pros and cons to it, but Guardian Angel is very comfy. Now, whichever one you have triple amp with, because it's hard far, you just take. But if you don't have these, then you can use Protein Cell for bossing, as this gives a shock bonus element to our status effects, which is huge and technically stronger than these amp stuff, because it's its own separate dot. But it's still going to be like on par. Of course, this is only for bossing and mobbing. You could technically use the fireworks. I didn't mess with it on this build, but technically you can. I don't know how much damage you would do on Harlowe. Then for the class mod, all you need is Prime Potency. I have a Prime Potency Transfuser, but all you need is Prime Potency. What Transfuser will do will spread the dots based off of the element on the dot when the enemy dies, and if it matches the dot of the gun and mode you have equipped. So I have shock here, which will mean that it will spread a shock dot, which we have most of the time, even if the like radiation dot doesn't apply, because sometimes we just kill like mobs so fast. And with Prime Potency, we will want to also have shotgun damage and or gun damage, as this is on shot damage, which means it will apply to our status effects. Normal gun damage does not apply to status effects, so that's a huge thing to keep in mind. Then for the firmware, first we are going 3 high caliber. For the Pierce is going to be very important for the base Stellium, especially for bossing if you're using base Stellium, but not as important for energy disc, as it's not really doing anything with the Pierce and the bouncing. So you could just go 2 out of 3 with high caliber if you aren't using base Stellium for bossing, but I still do like that Pierce for mobbing. And then you're also going to want to get Airstrike for increased splash radius. This allows for more likely to hit an enemy. Now, what you could also do here is, if you are just going 2 out of 3 high caliber, is get 2 out of 3 get throw in just for even more splash radius. That's something I haven't messed with, but it could be nice with bossing for consistency, but I never found it an issue. But instead, I go God Killer. It's additive soup damage, and we have a lot of that, but it's like the only thing that's helping here. And then another thing you can go with technically optimal bossing is going to be getting 2 out of 3 high caliber and 3 out of 3 data dio, which gives us more on shot damage, because this gun damage here is also on shot, which will then apply to dots, which is huge. And we're switching our mode to the energy disc anyway, so it's pretty easy to keep up, but that's real min-maxing, which none of my clips use. Then for the action skill, we are going Flux Generator for Group Study. We're basically just using Group Study for the gun damage, as this gun damage is on shot. As I said before, on shot damage applies to status effects. So this is very nice. And also the reload speed is pretty nice as well. I usually only have one activation, even if I'm getting a bio robot with sustained reaction. Maybe I'll go like 2 stacks, maybe 3. But in bossing, I'll usually go like 2 or 3 stacks. You just kind of got to time it with when you can shoot the boss before your action skill runs out. Then we also have Nuclear Winter here for the action skill damage this gives us. We'll then work with Excited State for the automatic crit, but a lot of times we will damage the enemy and then it'll die. Like we don't get a second shot off for that crit. So it's not the best, but it is there. But the crit damage is still good. It also says enemy becomes entangled after applying a radiation status effect. I don't know if it works with Scientist, as I'm already applying a status effect just from Scientist applying a shock dot, so that's really not too important. But now with getting down the skill tree, really the main thing we're going for is group study, decoherence, and distribution. So we do have reasons for getting on the tree. First, we're going action at a distance, where whenever Harlowe applies a status effect to an enemy, gains a chance to apply that status effect to each entangled enemy. The 100% chance at 10 out of 5. Now, don't have many times that we actually have another entangled enemy. I also don't have a good class mod with also ripple effect, so maybe that could change it, but for now, it's not really doing much. I have some tech ideas which could be good, but not impactful to the build. Then we have Momentum, as whenever Harlowe entangles an enemy, she deals increased crit damage. Now this is for the stats effects and really just for bossing, as this will apply to stats effects that crit. Then we have Mass Function to really just get down the tree, but the reload speed's really nice. Then we go Confirmative Reality. This is really good for cooldown on a regular Harlowe build, but because we're not shooting a lot, we aren't getting too many activations of this. You could have an extra weapon. I've been told like a Convergence does really well for getting back your action skill, and that would really remove the need for going down with caffeine, but as you can see here, we don't really have many specializations that help anyways. But just a thought for you, if you wanted to think about it. I still take it anyways, as it helps a little bit, but it's not impactful how I play. Then we go Decoherence. This gives us increased damage dealt when enemies are inside a Flux Generator, which isn't too often because it usually stays biased because of group study. But when an enemy is entangled, we get a bonus element that will apply to our dots, which is huge. So kind of like the protein cell, this is just giving us a bonus element on our dots, which is its own dot. Then we go down here, just a little extra for personal choice. I like Feedback Loop for that increased action skill duration. And then the cooldown rate is also pretty nice as well. I really just go this because I sadly can't hit sustained reaction, so we're just going here. And then I also take a runaway reaction. It's just a 1-pointer that's right here for if we aren't using Scientist and our action skill is down and we're applying a status effect to enemies and still shooting, we're still going to entangle them, which is nice. Then we're going over here for Excited State, really going here for the crit damage for bossing, but if we have to shoot an enemy a second time, automatic crit hit is nice for the ricochet, which is only really needed for mobbing. Then we go Distribution Function. Whenever Harlowe deals action skill damage to an enemy or start portion of her shield, where your shield's full, restore overshield. So our base Stellium shots are going to be hitting an enemy still and applying a dot, but also because of all this, it will be restoring our shields, which means after we use our amp, we should get it right back or close to back. And then I also just go 1-point acceleration for some lifesteal, just something nice at 1 point. And then we go group study here. That's really why we're going down the tree, but distribution function is really, really nice. Then we're going down red tree, really for great red dot for the increased status effect duration, so our dots last longer, usually like a couple more ticks. We go to get down to it, PPE, just get down the tree, nothing here is really helping. You can go action skill damage here to get better shield restore if you wanted to, but I don't do it here. Recharge rate is pretty nice. And then I go elementary here. This gives status effect damage and elemental damage, so we're getting benefits from both of these, which is huge. And then we get the great red dot. For specialization, all we really need is now with caffeine for getting back our action skill, and then the best defense for some additive damage dealt, which will apply to our dot. I do take bullet train just for this hip fire while sprinting. The gun damage does nothing for us besides the base shot. And then I go into the zone. I don't know if this is actually doing anything with the crit damage. If this crit damage applies status effects, it's useful. I don't use it in my clips, but it could help. Otherwise, you could put it literally anywhere. And then the gameplay is so simple. For shooting, activating your action skill, and then you're just shooting, reloading, going to the next enemy, shooting, reloading, reloading, and activate one stack of this. Is literally all you need to do, and then just keep going around and doing that. And you can see how it's just doing all these status effects here, just because the enemies can live, because they're just dummies. But it's doing all these ricochets as well. And then when our action skill goes down, you just use your rep kit 3 times. Get back, and then you can shoot your gun again for a confirmative reality. Alright, and now with bossing, I'm going to use the protein cell here. First, we're going to activate our rep kit for the amp, throw out our action skill. Then we're going to want to at least get 1 charge, and then slam, and maybe get 1 more charge. Throw the crit knife, and then shoot. And you can see we have over 1 million dot on the radiation. And usually it'll hit the enemy multiple times, but it also just went over to that enemy. But yeah, it's that easy to do. If you learned something new, then make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more Borderlands 4 content, and consider becoming a member to support the channel and get videos early. Don't forget to check out the Mobalytics build write-up in the description, as it always has the most up-to-date version of the build. This could be minor tweaks or huge reworks. You can also find the save file for this build in the Discord or Mobalytics guide. I see this build absolutely melting Bloom Reaper on release with how effective energy discs are against vile crystals. And depending on the health of those crystals, you may just need to put more effort into the gun instead of the dot for that part. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.